everyone. This is Melissa Keller from Vineyard Worship. We are excited to announce the launch of Vineyard Worship Essentials, a comprehensive training program for Vineyard Worship leaders. Our summer cohorts are filling up now. Over 8 weeks, you'll engage in lively discussions with other worship leaders from around the world, grow together in your leadership skills, and form lasting connections. Whether you're just starting out or looking to hone your skills, Vineyard Worship Essentials is the perfect way to discover how God is calling you to this incredible ministry of leading others into worship. Visit vineyardworship.com/essentials for more information and to sign up. Join us today and take the first step in your journey.
Hey, what up, everybody? This is the Ferment podcast. My name is Adam, and today my friend Megan is with me. What up, Megan?
Hey, Adam. Good to be here.
Glad you're on the pod. Hey, we're in this little mini series where we're kind of talking about the joys and challenges, really the experiences that worship leaders have at leading in different size congregations, small, medium, and large. And today, your all's church sort of fits our medium frame. So congratulations. But before we get into maybe some of the stuff I want to talk about, why don't you just tell everybody who you are and where you're at and what your life is like right now?
Yeah. My name is Megan. I am in Tehachapi, California.
That's just fun to say, by the way.
Right, it is. It totally is fun.
Yeah.
Tehachapi. We get all sorts of versions of how that's said. It's quite entertaining. We're like 2 hours north of LA, a little bit south of Bakersfield, just for awareness on that. In a lovely small town, about 30,000 people in a little bit of the mountains. And it's just this great community. I absolutely love it. I'm married to my husband, Jeff Zeilinger. We have a little girl, Kaylee Bug. She's 2.5, will be 3 in July. And we are just loving living life here. We love being a part of our church and serving with worship community and just being a part of doing life together and loving Jesus in our community.
So tell me how long you've been doing worship stuff.
Yeah, I've been in Tehachapi, Jeff and I together, for 7 years. And it's been a thread in my story since I was a little girl.
We'll take us all the way there. Tell me about that. Were you always a singer? Did you grow up in a family of like worship people, or were you kind of the outlier?
Yeah, we always had music on in my house.
Yeah.
My dad played the oldies. My mom had the worship music. And so music was just on and alive. And I loved to sing. And I have memories of being in the basement as a little girl and, rocking out to Amy Grant and with nobody watching, but it was just so fun.
What era of Amy Grant? Like Baby or before that?
No, that one for sure.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. 90s Amy Grant, right?
So, yeah. And then just small groups and being a part of just what was going on around me and just loved singing with people around me. So picked up a guitar when I was 18. It was on my bucket list kind of a thing. And there was a need at the camp that I had been a part of that I just loved. They called it Heaven on Earth whenever I got to go to summer camp. And none of my friends going into that next summer had an acoustic guitar and knew how to play. And so I was like, well, now's the time. My parents bought one for me, not knowing what even to look for. And just started learning 3 chords and off we went. And leading small group, leading camp. And
do you remember the first song you ever played on your guitar?
Good question. I do not off the top of my head.
What do you think it might be?
Oh, man. I remember playing Your Love Never Fails quite a bit.
Oh, there you go.
I don't think that was my first one, but that was probably one of the first songs I connected to.
Yeah, that's early in your journey, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's so cool. I love hearing that. I love that, nobody else is doing it. Nobody's got an acoustic guitar. Now's my time. I have to do it.
Yeah. And it genuinely was that. My other friend played piano. Someone else played drums, and together we just made it work. We did acoustic. We did a band like that, all that fun stuff. So a lot of camp worship style stuff. And then that grew into full band stuff and whatnot. So
okay, so how long have you been leading worship there in Tehachapi?
7 years.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. I mean, now you're all the way in it. It's wonderful. Tell us a little bit about your church, because, you're there in California and you're up in the mountains, and it may not be the place that people go to visit when they go to California, or at least not initially. So just tell us a little bit about not only your city, but maybe about your church and what it's been like for the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I love our church. We commuted to be a part of it for the first 3 years that we were serving here because we love it so much. We love what God's doing here. There is just a DNA of welcome, of hospitality, of a heart of worship, generosity, and very much looking outward into the community. And so that was something that really resonated with Jeff and I. And we had been very involved at Desert Vineyard. So Tehachapi is actually a church plant, was a satellite campus of Desert Vineyard for, that's the beginnings of where it came from.
Yeah.
Which is quite lovely. And we were asked to come up here to Tehachapi to see if we could build a team. Because we had been sending up teams from Desert Vineyard for years and, wanting to have people that lived in the community and were part of the church here. And so we said yes, and it's been just incredible.
So part of your worship journey is not just like leading songs on a Sunday morning, but it also is that piece of building initial teams. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. To be honest, it was, I walked into a really easy situation.
Yeah.
Paula Piccolo, who was the pastor at Desert Vineyard, came in for 6 months beforehand while they were trying to figure out how to have a worship leader at the time stay in Tehachapi and be a part of a church for the long run. And so he was here as an interim for like 6 months, did an audition, started to build a team, and then they invited me to step in after that.
Yeah.
And so it was a really easy transition in a sense. Like there was a bunch of great people here when we got here, but the sense of community and connection was very much missing. Like on like a couple of the first rehearsals, I realized people didn't know each other's names.
Right.
And so just like coming into a structure, which is really my kind of jam. Like I like to come in and to something that's existing and then cultivate and pastor and whatnot. So
that's such a big part of it.
Yeah, it was really fun. So we've come a long way since that first rehearsal. This past Tuesday night at rehearsal, we're all praying for each other and just entering into each other's lives and getting pictures and words for one another and just, being very present to one another outside of just when we show up to serve and worship through music.
I'm so glad you said that. Let's just take maybe one little detour before we go into all the other things that we want to talk about. Will you just say some more about that? Because leading worship is not just the songs we do on Sunday morning or even getting the team ready for that. I love what you were saying there just a moment ago about praying for each other, getting words for each other, trying to be an encouragement, trying to know each other. And I assume, was that during rehearsal time? Or was this something else that was scheduled?
Yeah, we have our rehearsals on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
And we take time either at the front or the end. I've learned you just have to feel the room out and see where people are at. Sometimes people want to come in and they just need to bang on the drums and, play the guitar and just enter in that way. Other times they really need to take a breath and be present to themselves. And one way we can do that is doing that with each other.
Yeah.
So try to feel where everyone's at with that, but we definitely take time either at the beginning or the end to do that and pray for one another. So what I like to do is just throw out, a question like, hey, what's exciting to you right now?
Yeah.
And if that's not where you're at, you can share something that's difficult too.
Yeah.
But I really welcome everybody to share. Everybody's in that place where they're willing to now. It's taken some years to do that, but now everybody's just willing and excited to share. And again, just when we bring that like authentic self to each other, the Lord just does something beautiful with that. And so other people can realize like, I'm not alone in that. We can encourage each other throughout the week without a program way, but just like people just move in love, I think, when we're authentic with each other. And so it's, again, like it's really easy to want to just get all the songs perfect and spot on and like, all that stuff, which is really fun. I love all that, but really being intentional to make space for people to be present to each other, to what God's doing, and to themselves. So,
I love that. Well, part of what music is at the highest levels, it's about connection.
Absolutely.
Between the musicians, the sound we make, the song we're playing, our ability to connect inside the music. And, it occurs to me through the things you're saying right now that developing some of that just interpersonal connection in terms of friendship. Here's the things that are happening in my life. Here's what's good. Here's what's bad. Building an awareness of that it actually serves the music as much as it serves the humans inside, because it's connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find the more that I see people at home in their own bodies, the freer they are, like you're saying, to express worship. Yeah, it's beautiful. Something that we're doing this summer is we've scheduled a bunch of barbecues to just come whenever you can. You don't have to make them all of them, but again, just being human together and sharing food together, hanging out, building community. And,
that's low hanging fruit. It's like it's so obvious. Come on, it's great. All right, so Megan, let's get into what I wanted to maybe share with you in terms of our conversation. We're doing a little mini series here about the experiences of leading worship at different sized churches, and your church is in a little moment of growth. You were just saying that before we jumped onto the official recording moment here. You guys have kind of had a bump. Say something about that. That's just really exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's very exciting. We were averaging between 300 to 400 people on a Sunday. So we have 2 services in 9/11. And now we're averaging between 500 to 600 people on a Sunday. Like Easter, we had 900 and it was packed, but it was great because we were thinking about how could we be prepared to make people feel welcomed and not feel crowded and all that. And everybody, like all the different teams, they just did an awesome job. It was
Isn't that
beautiful.
A beautiful thing?
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, that's so many more people than what we normally have. And it didn't feel stressful or packed. It felt like very purposeful and peaceful. It's a really cool Easter Sunday. And so again, just on average between 500 to 600 people. And I would say the feel as I'm leading worship, as we're leading worship, will go through a bit of some waves, because we will reach a space that it feels like everybody has gotten an understanding. They're familiar with, this is how we worship. This is how we're leaning in. This is how we're being present. And then we'll hit another couple months where people are like clapping in between songs, because that's what they're used to from other experiences. As we're growing, more people are coming in and they're not as familiar. And so for me personally, being aware of who's in the room, what's going on, and that's something that I'm growing in and being stretched in, and it's been pretty fun, honestly.
Well, let me ask you one question that's related to that. You said you do 2 services. We do 2 services here. Do you have one service that feels like, oh, this is like the home team, and it's sort of everything just kind of works, and worship's sort of amazing, and whatever's happening on the stage is happening in the room, and back and forth, it's vice versa. It just feels like, oh, this is easy, this is great. And then maybe there's another service where it's filled with mostly new people, and you're just very aware that the room doesn't exactly know what to do, and you're having to model and train it. Is that, do you all have that kind of experience too? Because we're like so there right now.
Yes, that's well said. That's a lot of our experience. Generally, first service feels like our family, like our people, right? But then it flip-flops too. And so you never really know what to expect and see what God's going to do that morning. So
I love that. Well, that's exactly what's happening with us right now. Our second service, which by the way, right now, our second service is my favorite one, but it's mostly new people, and it's like people who are coming to God or coming to church for the first time. So there's just very low awareness of really anything, but God seems to be moving in there.
Yes.
And we just have to, I just tell our guys all the time, I'm like, guys, look, we got to put our pastor hats on. Everybody who's doing anything, you just have to think like someone who's trying to gather people into the moment, the room, friendships, conversation, anything. But it's really cool.
Yeah. I totally relate to that. And just it's the really fun part of that, right? Is welcoming people into what we have been experiencing here, and like the sweetness of God's presence and worship, and just people finding their gifts and having joy in that. Whether that's baking bread, like I'm just thinking of different people in our church, like people are just kind of like coming alive in what brings them joy and who they are. And that's how God made them and designed them. And that brings so much life to the whole church through that kind of a thing. And so it's really exciting to think about who is being welcomed into that. And like you're saying, being intentional to speak into moments where it's like, oh, no, this is not a performance. No, you can sing with us.
That's
We
right.
want you. Like, all of our voices are needed. This is a we time. There's no separation between what's happening up here and out there. Like, we are all together in this. And so, just for me, speaking is something that takes courage and risk and faith. And so I really have to lean into being present in what's going on in the room, and then being willing to speak into it or guide the team in a way that goes down.
I'm surprised to hear you say that speaking takes courage for you, because you're so articulate. You sound great. Like, even this, what you're saying there, this is a we time. I love that. I actually put that in my little note over here. I'm going to steal that. This is a we time. What is church? Church is we time.
Yes, it is.
I love that.
It is not me time. Me time will get, it just will not be satisfied. It will not be filling.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
There's we going on all around us. And so together. So
that's great. Okay, let me ask you this. Let's go into this just a little bit. Talk to me about what some of the gifts of leading worship in a church like yours are right now.
For me, the ones that stand out really evidently are just knowing so many people. Like, there's still I still can look out and I know this person and that person. I won't name names, but like I can see their growth and their journey of freedom as they're worshiping God through their expression. Like, I can just enter into their stories, and man, it just makes me, I don't even know. Like, I just love that. And then, like, I think I was trying to say earlier is learning what it feels like to have new people in the room. Sometimes I wouldn't be able to articulate, oh, it was because they're not familiar. There's just so many more new people moving towards us.
Yes.
That is what I'm feeling in the room. And again, like the gift of that, just knowing so many people still.
Yeah.
And then also being big enough to see diversity of giftings. I think specifically, just as we are growing, two areas pop out to me. One, that all revolve around worship, right?
Yeah.
One would be prayer, and just a hunger for prayer. I've seen my friend Michelle Desmond and Jill Kingsley just welcome other people into that, and not have it be an isolated thing that they're doing from their own. I don't know. They've welcomed people into that, and they've made spaces of intentional prayer, like a pre-service prayer. That's not just like, this is what's going on, and then we pray at the end, but there's actual pre-service prayer where they're listening to what is God saying to us this morning, what's he want to do amongst us. And then throughout the week as well, different times of that. And I think that hunger for God's presence, it just the combination of prayer and worship with that has just really welcomed God's presence in a sweet way. I can think back on a season when we were smaller, when we were probably about 200 to 300 a Sunday. And in worship, this is my own journey, my own understanding of what was going on, right? So my own interpretation. But I felt so responsible for what was going on in the room. I carried this weight that it was untrue and not what Jesus would want. But I just carried this heavy weight. And I looked out and I didn't see the hunger, and I would just be frustrated Sunday after Sunday. And finally, in Jesus's kindness, he caught my attention, and I was saying, like, you have not because you ask not, Megan. Like, you're not asking for it. You're complaining about it. And let's bring that to me, and let's talk about it, and let's ask about that, and see what I want to do in it. So to me, there's been this shift of again, me, right? Like even just leading worship, like feeling a weight of I'm responsible, but as silly as that sounds, but
I
like
don't think that's silly at all.
It can be a place that we're a lie that we live in. And I was there for a long time. And in God's kindness, he's just brought other people
Yeah.
in to, again, ask for that hunger and long for his presence. And it's helped me realize what? Like, I'm not alone. And, I've been intentional with that specifically to ask for healing in that. But I think what keeps me there is seeing other people giving what they have to give, and I'm giving what I have to give, and together.
Yeah, and what I hear you saying in this, two things. I hear you saying that the gifts in a church where you guys are right now, just in terms of like who's coming and the energy around it, are one, you still know a lot of people. So you look at it, you're like, I know these people. They're not just faces, but they're real stories with names that I know. And yet you're big enough that the team has started to take the burdens off of you, even the ones you carried that you shouldn't have carried.
Yes.
That you're starting to internalize that reality of, oh no, the church is something we do together. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I think that is one of the gifts of like medium-sized churches. You do know people, but man, it's a place where people can share their gifts and I don't have to carry everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great. Okay, let me ask you this. What happens at a medium-sized church that maybe doesn't happen in smaller churches or bigger churches? And this doesn't have to be true. It's just like by your experience, or if you were to put your brain on it, is there something there that feels unique in those kinds of spaces?
Yeah, I think just again with our own story, the other group that popped out with like diversity of giftings would be production team. And my husband, Jeff Zeilinger, is the audio media director. And when COVID hit, just like many of us, right, we didn't have an online service at that point. And so it was, Tuesday, we're realizing we're not meeting in person. Sunday, we're online. And his journey specifically has just been, I think, really powerful. He's, like you think about that, leaning into making production happen to make space for people to meet with God. And as he was going through the grind of all that, he really heard, some redirecting on how he had been doing that in the church before, like with people, and realizing like, how do I want to do that as we move forward when we will meet in person again and whatnot. And so he just really leaned into choosing people over product, over process. And I think with a production team that you have to be very intentional with that. So easy to get lost in details of that. And so again, just with the size of our church growing, more people have moved towards him being excited about, I have this love for tech and for cameras and lighting, and like, how can I be a part of this? So seeing the production team have fun and laugh and be joyful and love what they're doing, like, I don't know, it just feels like a surprise, a lovely surprise to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't see that a lot in like the production areas of churches.
Because they can be pressurized places.
But yeah, exactly. And so they're choosing to serve in a place of love and making space for people in an intentional way online still to gather and whatnot. So I think that for our church size, right, like we're in a place where we are growing with that. We have more people that are willing to do that and be creative in it. And guys, it's just been fun to see what God's doing with that.
Okay, let me ask you this. What are the challenges?
Currently, the size of our building is a challenge. Yeah.
You guys just hitting the limits of your room?
Yeah. We're trying to discern what's going on. Are we staying in this, trajectory of growth, or so we're leaning into what what God would want with that.
What about
But
3 services?
It's on the table.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
You heard it, huh?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, it's what's funny. I mean, I've been around church. I know. I mean, we're actually trying to figure this out at my church too right now.
Yeah.
This is the conversation on the table. Like, we need more space. Our kids' wing is destroyed by children. We do 2 services. Do we do 3? We just sort of internally know, okay, if we do 3, we have to become kind of like a different team. We're it's going to require us to
Right.
get our act together in a way that we just haven't before, or whatever you want to say. And you just feel I feel the excitement, but I also feel oh man, here we go, learning again or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Growing pains, right?
Yeah.
Like they're all around us right now. And so it's very exciting to think about all of those options. But yeah, we're just trying to be really wise about that, like you're saying, because it's once you take that jump, it's
real.
It's a big jump.
It's a big
real.
commitment. What did you guys do at Easter to manage 900 people? Did you do 3 services, or did you get a big tent? What did you do?
We did 2 services.
Oh, so they were just insane.
And I'm telling you, it didn't feel insane.
See, I like it.
Everybody was so intentional. It felt very full. But
yes.
So here's what we try to do with like Easter or Christmas services. We try to just be who we are on a Sunday.
Yeah. No bait and switch
kinds of services. Yeah. And we thought about, do we do 3 services? We asked those questions. We're kicking it all around and trying to figure it out. But we realized like it just creates confusion sometimes that, people show up the next week, they're not sure what times it is. And so we just try to really just stay consistent, 9 and 11, and make space as much as we can. We moved like all of our coffee tables. Thankfully, the weather was nice out into, we have like a patio on the back area. So we're trying to create more space outside. And like we had to rearrange. Our kids director is awesome. And she sounds like you guys as well. They're just bursting at the seams with kids, and God's doing some awesome things there. But we had to rearrange, like, how are we doing check-ins? And, just a lot of pivoting on making space for people.
But that sounds fun. I mean, I kind of like a super packed, crazy room. I know that all the church growth stuff says, once you get to 80%, people are kind of like checking out, or if the parking lot's too full, people just keep driving. But I love a crazy, insane, full room that's just, on the borderline of melting down. That's what I love the most.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So your Easter experience, that sounds like fun to me, Megan.
It was. It honestly was one of my favorite Easters ever, especially leading. Again, just with like what I shared with my own journey. I think, as a worship leader, you can put pressure on yourself on an Easter Sunday that it's got to be perfect, or the Lord's not going to move, just like, what?
Yeah, no.
So we put extra pressure on ourselves that day. And just with journey of like moving away from performance mentality to being loved and leading in love, it was just fun. And
that sounds great.
Yeah. So
okay, so let me ask you this. Do you have any support staff who support you? That's what I mean. Like, do you have an assistant? Talk to me about who helps you and how you manage your life, because you've got a full life in the church, but also outside of the church.
Yeah, for sure. So my husband, Jeff, he runs all production, all media, all sound, everything technical. I am not technical at all, and that is just his jam. He loves it. He gets so much life out of it. He loves teaching people. So I might not fit like a traditional mold of what a worship pastor's job description would look like. Just another lovely thing that's happened from us being smaller size church. I don't know if that is accurate. It's just true to our church.
Yeah.
And the group of people we've been in is that I've been freed up to be who I am. And so my strengths come with scheduling, administrative, fun things, calendaring, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, that's
right. I do all sorts of different things there. And recently, my friend Shawnee has become an administrative assistant to help support
Nice.
me with that. So yeah, so she, so as far as worship stuff, it's Jeff doing production, me doing worship team, and then with my other like Sunday services kind of things like welcome team, safety team, coffee stuff. Shawnee helps me with that, and she's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I think that's one of the signs that your church is changing. That's one of the ways you know is when you start needing to specialize a little bit. So let me ask you a question that's maybe similar. Sometimes worship leaders at smaller churches have to be utility players. They have to like lead worship and run the sound crew, fix the lights, make sure the computers work, and maybe you have to be the chief host. Like you need a new welcome every Sunday. Some really cool thing to say at the beginning. How much of that persists in your role? Because what I'm kind of hearing is maybe some of that's starting to change, but does any of that persist?
I think that Jeff would fall under a lot of that. Anything technical, IT, he is the go-to guy with that. So I think that persists for him.
Yeah, that's right.
And
okay, let me ask you this. What kind of songs resonate with your church and your room? I'm thinking less of, I guess I am thinking about your church. It's people, the church is people, but I'm also thinking about the room, and just because I have this working theory, and it's a little sociological, but it kind of goes like this. There are some songs that just work in any room. For whatever reason, they just hit any room. You could play them at a small group of 10, or you could play them in a stadium of 50,000 and the song just kind of goes. But then there are other songs that just seem to fit rooms really, really well. And so I guess I'm just wondering, what kind of stuff resonates with your church? Where do you see people kind of like come into it on the congregation side? So you could like maybe name some songs or even just kinds of songs that sort of seem to work with your congregation.
2 songs that come to mind right now are Saved by Samuel Lane.
Really? Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. We love that song. And then My King Forever, Josh Baldwin.
Oh yeah, totally.
We could just sing all praise all day long. Like we could just do that chorus endlessly. Yeah. There's the themes that I'm like thinking about. People are hungry to exalt the Lord. Like as churchy as that sounds, that's the way
great.
I can just think of it. Let's like, they really just want to lift him up, praise him. And then there's also just themes of just recognizing his presence with us. And the songs we sing shape us, right?
They do.
So I've just seeing how, the songs that we sing, they're really important.
They so are.
They shape us. And so like Thin Place, Cherry Blossoms, You Meet Me Here, Simple Gospel, Make Room, Glory to the King, Chris Lazat, so there's
one of the things I'm noticing even in what you're saying there is a lot of those songs you just mentioned, they're songs that have some kernel of the gospel inside of them. Like even Saved, or you know what I mean? Like they're kind of like songs that teach. It's very, very interesting, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I just wonder if that's something that the Spirit is doing at your church right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It seems like there's a lot of unlearning going on. A lot of people who have grown up in a church context of some sort. There's the unchurched too that are moving towards this, but a lot of people that are having to unlearn and relearn who God is. So I think you're spot on with that, Adam. Yeah.
Oh, that's really beautiful. Man, sometimes it's good to just look over what we're singing and going, okay, which one of these songs resonate? And then is there a way to extrapolate from these songs? Like, is that a message from God to us? Like, is this, the Spirit is doing something. Look at this. Like, there's some themes that connect here, and he's leading us in some way.
Absolutely.
Well, I love that you mentioned those 2 songs, Saved and the Baldwin tune. It's just great.
Forever.
Yeah, it's just great. Really beautiful. Because one of the things I loved about Save is it starts with, it's kind of a song that teaches, or a song that sort of theologizes our faith, but it moves towards, I just love you, God. Right? Like it moves toward, absolutely. I love, right? And Yeah, and like you said, the Baldwin tune it's just exaltation, which, gosh, what a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so Megan, talk to us about, we've done this a little bit, but talk to us a little bit about the big holidays on the church calendar, Christmas and Easter. What's changed over the years? You've talked a little bit about Easter. You guys had to really think because you're in this moment of growth or whatever.
Right.
But talk to us about Christmas. Talk to us about like Easter's past. Like what's it like for you? Is it a big deal? It sounds like it's a big deal for your church.
Yeah.
Does your community come? Like, do you have to put on some special thinking?
Yeah, I think definitely being intentional with how we're making space for people. But again, just trying to be who we are. So like our Easter service, for example, we didn't do like a special song or anything that would have been different than how we normally run a Sunday service. So, worship into community highlights, what's going on, how you can be connected, preaching, ministry time. So nothing quote unquote special, but it is special because this is who we are and we're inviting you into that space. I will say with Easter, we're being very intentional over the last couple of years. I think it started probably 4 years ago with having an Ash Wednesday service and just trying to teach people more so about Lent and creating space for that. So,
so you're
we'll
extending
do like a
the
Lent
season.
reflection.
Yeah, extending that whole season. Yeah.
Yep. So joining in with what the church as a whole is doing. So a Lent reflection, like at the end of worship, is what we did this season, and that was really awesome because it kind of led like from ministry, and then into
what would that be
reflection.
like? What would that be like? Because I'm interested in that. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So my friend Michelle is the pastor of prayer ministries, and she literally just like 1 year ago, was administrative assistant in the office. That's not her gifting. And through conversations and whatnot, we realized let's have Shawnee go into that. And Michelle, you're just so passionate about prayer and God's presence. And so we created this new role for her to come alive in who she is. And I say we, meaning Mike and Dave.
Yeah.
I said, way to go, guys. That's beautiful. And so Michelle would partner with me. I'd lead worship. And then she'd walk up at the end, lead some ministry and reflection, and just talk about the meaning of Lent. She read through a scripture in Isaiah, and with Easter, with Lent, she also invited other voices in. So over the 6 weeks, she had chosen 6 different people to share like a 1 to 2 minute story about restoration, redemption.
That's awesome.
We heard, from 6 different voices, their own personal stories about that. And it was really powerful.
I love that. I mean, anything we can do in our liturgies just to include more people.
Yeah.
It always seems to land really great in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about Christmas? Anything similar-ish in the Christmas calendar? Talk to me about that.
Advent reflections as well. And currently, I think we've had like Mike do them one season, Michelle do them the next season, Nigel as well. So we would light the candle, invite a family up to light the candle, and then Michelle or Nigel or Mike would lead a reflection and go back into worship. So we do that usually in the middle of worship, do a couple songs, light the candle, talk about what that means, and then continue singing and worshiping. And then Christmas Eve service, of course. So always.
Mm-hmm. Well, Megan, thanks for sharing all your wisdom with us.
It's been really fun to talk to you, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Look, you're one of our people. So you got to share all your good stuff with me. And I've already taken several notes down. I'm just going to rip it. We're just going to take it, copy, paste, put it right in here at Campbellsville.
Right on.
That's all we're going to do. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for listening. We always love journeying with all of our worship crew out there in Vineyard Land. Peace.
Hey everyone, Casey Corum here, producer of the podcast. Thanks for listening. As always, if you've been enjoying the podcast, here's a few ways you can help us. First of all, leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice. This helps more people find us. Also, connect with us on social media. Instagram at the Ferment Podcast and Twitter at FermentCast. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Peace.